Okay, ma'am. Ma'am, recording start ஆயிடுச்சு. Class start பண்ணிடலாமா?
Okay, sir. Okay.
PPT visible ஆதானே ma'am இருக்கு, ஒன்றும் பிரச்சனை இல்லையே?
Sir, visible then, sir. No issue, sir. You can start, sir.
Okay, ma'am. Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon, everyone. So, a warm afternoon to everyone. So we have completed our discussions on last semester on the topic of human rights, and this semester it will be a 8th semester, and we'll be taking a elective which comes under elective 4, I guess. So it will be MG 8591, Principles of Management. It will be a very interesting subject, and it is very important also. And the reason why it is important is because no matter what kind of thing you take up in your life, whether you come after completing the course, you're going to start as an employee of an organization, or you want to become an entrepreneur in the future, or you want to take up a research and development kind of activity. I mean, many options are right there in front of you, and some of you have already selected the option. So my point is, no matter even in your personal life also, being a personal life in personal life also, if you look at managing things becomes very, very important. And when we conceptualize everything in a systematic order, we call it as principles of management. So it is very, very important for every one of us to manage our life in a most or best possible manner. That is very important in order to be successful. A person's success depends upon how we manage the resources. Okay, it will be individual. It's like managing your time, managing your skills, managing your talents, and managing your other resources. You know, financial, family, connection, all those kind of resources. How you best use of it. I think some of you are very clever in that, even this point of time also, because some of you would have discussed with your seniors, or some of you would discuss with your friends at the other colleges during the placement, and you become aware of what is happening. So it is like using the resources to your advantage and to make use of it. So managing things is very important. It would be personal life or a professional life, and it makes sense no matter which point of time or which point of time in your life be. More you focus on managing things, or able to understand the various aspects of resources, you will have a better progress in your life and career. Okay, so with that background, I just want to run through first part of the topic. This subject consists of this course consists of 5 units. As you can see, first unit is all about introduction to management and organization. It just sets the tone for the rest of the unit. We will understand what is the definition for management, whether it is an art or a skill, because MBA, it comes under school of art, not comes under science. Generally they talk about it, but there is a differentiation to it. So there is also one more topic, like who is a manager, who is an entrepreneur. There is some kind of differences or differentiation could be made out of, and we can understand what are the various levels of management, and what are the roles they play and skills required at each of the levels, which you are going to see, and it should be a very, very interesting topic. And then we go into the evolution of management. I just want to focus on the first unit, so that I will rest of the unit I'll just walk through evolution of management in terms of how it has evolved. You know, that is also we are going to discuss in today's session, and the rest of the first unit is the base in which we are going to construct the building. It's a foundation. Management involves, it's all about planning, it's all about organizing, it's all about directing, and it's all about controlling. So 4 aspects all come together, forms the management. When these concepts are put together, it gives us the course called as Principles of Management. So no matter where you are, you should, I think we are doing that. See, for example, your mom wants to prepare a food. She will prepare, or she will think like, what I want to cook for tomorrow morning breakfast. Okay, whether it's going to be a idli, vada, sambar, or something like that, For that, she has to plan. She has to ensure she has got the right resources. What time I have to get up and what time I have to keep the things in ready, ingredients ready, those kind of things. And second aspect is organizing. How what time she has to do which task. So this is like organizing. And directing is like instructing you to bring something else, or using those resources and ensuring the task is going around. And then finally the controlling part, we will discuss that. So you remember, management involves 4 important aspects: planning, organizing, directing, and controlling, which we are doing in every point in our life. I can quote number of examples also. Let me first talk about definition of management. Can I get someone to tell me what is can someone with mic on tell me what is management, or what is this all about? No need to look at the PPT and then say, just asking a question so that you are online or nothing like that. Just tell me, can anyone say what management is all about? Just now I said, anyhow. Anyone? Am I audible? Am I audible to you? If you are unable to use your mic, you can do the chat also. You can do a chat so that I can see what's the reply we are getting. No one is responding. Guys, are you there? Okay, Vijay Raj is saying yes, but no answers. Okay, no problem. Let me get into the management definition directly. Management is an art of getting things done through other people. This is a major thing what they do. So it's all about not doing all the tasks by themselves. It is like having people to do the task for, or accomplishing the task. So management is a process that is used to accomplish organizational goals. In a simple definition, it is like it's an art of getting things done through other people. For example, you have a sister or you have a brother, and you want him to do something for you, because you say you want him to go to shop and get you something like pen or a pencil, or ask him to buy some things for you. Some things your mother wants to get you something from the shop. How she is able to accomplish the task, it's an art. It's just like there are different tactics or strategy people will follow. A simple strategy would be aspect of you don't you do for me, that kind of stuff, that tone. Or it's like order, how dare you not do that for me. So that is kind of manipulation, you can say. It is an art of getting things done through other people, and in a raw form. But in a managerial or in a organizational context, it talks about, it's a process that is used to accomplish organizational goals. Every organization have got goals. For example, let it be Google, Facebook, or any company for that matter, TVS, or Hyundai, or Zoho, or TCS, Infosys, whatever the company is. Company or the organization will have the goals, organizational goals, and they have people, and they have people below them to manage these groups of people, and how they do what they do, what these people will do, so that the entire team will achieve the organizational goal. For example, Adyar Anandabhavan says this year we want to get a target of profit of 10%, and how they are able to accomplish the goals with the use of people and resources. That becomes a very, very important aspect. So it is a process that is used to achieve what an organization wants to achieve. Okay, organization could be anything. It could be a business, it could be a school, a college, a city, a government, a group of volunteers, maybe a temple, a family. So you can think of anything. In a family, we have a group of people who are working together to achieve a common goal, to ensure the family grows. What do you mean by growth or prosperity? Family gets a new home, new car, or have more bank balance. That's how the family goals would be. Even in your family, you have a set of plans. buy gold or buy these kind of stuff in these time. So all these things will be there. So how as a family you all achieve that goal, you know, that forms the thought, that sets the tone for definition for management. So definition of management, there are many definitions are there. In a simple term, it is a process. It is not like one time thing. It is a continuous process. So once our organization achieves 20% profit, doesn't stop there, because it is not end of the journey. Our organization continue to exist as long as there is a customer or a client is there. So it's very clear, it's a process that is used to accomplish organizational goals. Okay, and how they are achieving, it depends upon the effectiveness of management. Okay, so organization management will be applied in every aspect of our life, and management is a common term, but there could be other terms also. There are many organizations, as I mentioned to you, and there is management can be applied to the personal life also. How you are going to manage your personal life in terms of your resources. You know, we have certain goals, and how we are going to utilize your resources in achieving those goals is also very important. Okay, so now we get the point. Next, we go to the what are the how it's been done. There are many functions, but there are 4 key functions management does, or a manager does. Manager is a person who is in charge of achieving a goal or a task with the help of subordinates, right? And management involves 4 key functions, but it is not in a sequential order or a hierarchical order, nothing like that. Sometimes they do a role of planning, and sometimes they do take up the role of organizing. So it's like a balance depending upon the type of goal and the time in which it is to be implemented. So managers do planning, organize, direct, and control. For example, our college plans to conduct courses. So they have a semester plan. This is the time we are going to start the class, and this is how we want to. This is the time we want to end the class. There is a planning going on, behind which there will be allocation of subjects. All these things would be happening, but there is a planning. And organizing comes is because you can have plan, but you need people to execute those plans. So organizing means a group of people allocated to achieve those goals. You know, allocation of 2 things are there: people and resources, human resource and material resource. So how we combine the human resource and material resource together in achieving those plans is called as organizing. Then comes the directing. So you got human resource, you got material resource, but also you have a plan also. But you have a plan, you have human resource, you have material resource, but it has to be executed properly, and you have to give proper instruction. So how you direct them? Like giving instruction, taking a more of a communication part, how you communicate the information, how you have a rapport with these people, right? So that also plays a major role. And of course, leadership role. There are different varieties of leaders. We have got bureaucratic leadership, you got autocratic leadership, you got free rein leadership. So depending upon your kind of organization or the kind of organization, they have different types of leadership role they play. And finally, you have set a target and you are executing a task. How do you know you achieved a target or not? It is through controlling. So you say, my Adair and the Bound says, I want to get a profit of 20% this year, and they are making a turnover of, say, Sangeeta has got a turnover of last year 400 crores across globe. They have Sangeeta group of restaurants, and they say we want to improve or increase the profit margin by 20%. They can do profit margin in a number of ways: reducing the waste, or improving the sales, and all these kind of possibilities are there, depending upon, or increasing the marketing. So there are different varieties in which it is going to work out. So controlling means you have a plan, you are executing some plan. There will be a difference between the plan and the current level of action. That mismatch, we call it as controlling. So what I need to do so that I can reach that. It's like playing a 20-20 match. You have a target and you are scoring at one particular level. The difference between that, how we are going to compensate those for runs or overs, how you do that, this is called controlling. So a manager does all these roles, but he may not do all these roles all the time, and it may not be sequential also. It can be in any ways, any possible combination is possible. So a management is an art of getting things done through people, or you can say it is a process in which the selected goals and objectives of organization being achieved. So it involves planning, organizing, directing, and controlling the resource. Okay, and as I mentioned to you, planning comes with the defining the goals. It's like you can think of your own personal life also. You have a goal that I want to get a placement, or I want to get into this top institute, for example, IIT Kharagpur, IIT Mumbai, by writing a GATE exam. So that could be the goal, and there is a way in which you are going to achieve that goal. There could be a strategy, there could be a policy. So there are different ways in which the goals can be achieved, right? If the time is less, we have to look at the various factors, internal factors and external factors. Internal factors is your knowledge, your time, and external factors which are all uncontrollable. For example, it could be opportunities, it could be number of people taking the test, it could be the toughness or the hardness in which the question paper is going to come, and how many people are going to write. So those kind of things which comes under strategy. Strategy consists of internal and external factors. So planning means you have objective in place and how you are going to go about in achieving that. For example, you want to construct a home. You want to construct a home, and for that you need a plan. I need 50 lakh rupees, or I need 20 lakh rupees. I need a land. If I have got a cash of 2 lakh or 5 lakh or 10 lakh, I need to have this much amount of loan. So you need to have a plan in which these things can be executed. That is called planning. Second one is organizing. As I mentioned to you, plan remains a plan if you don't have people in which the people will be there to complete the task. So it includes the process of what tasks to be done and who is to do them, and how the tasks are to be grouped. Like, how you split the work. Organizing is all about splitting the work or splitting the group. For example, you have any company for that matter, any organization for that matter, let it be a service oriented organization or product based organization, they have different functions for organizing a group, similar kind of work to be grouped together. For example, there is a HR department which will take care of training, development and recruitment. Okay, and there is a finance department which will take care of the financial resources of the organization, and there is a marketing department. Whether it is a product based or service based company, doesn't matter, there is going to be a marketing department which will capture existing as well as newer market. Existing market, they want to increase their market share. Okay, and there is a R&D, research and development. It depends upon the product or what kind of service they do. So research and development. Then we got production. If it is a product based company, then you got service, or you can say deployment, where service based organization also need people who are in maintenance. For example, they have a project with the US based company, they have to maintain that project. For example, banks will have software. Okay, TCS are the one who are main player in banking or financial sector, and they want to maintain the record. They will be reporting people to take care of those software part of it, right? They have deput, and they will have bank employees will be there. These people will be there. They will be coordinating and solving the problem. So we talk about different functionalities which comes under organizing. Let me move on to the directing part, which I also told you. It is like a role of a leader. For example, to Kohli or Ajinkya Rahane, or you say Tim Payne for that matter, or it could be anybody else. It is like how they influence people in order to achieve the goals, how they motivate people in achieving those goals. Like, a manager will be there, he will be given a task, and he will be given group of people, that human resource and material resource being given, and how he is going to achieve that goals, and how he is going to motivate those people in achieving those goals. So what plays a major role is the kind of leadership role he takes. For example, Kohli tends to be very aggressive, whereas Rahane, if you look at even the last 2 tests, if you find 3 tests for that matter, He seems to be very calm, cool, and composed. Let players come there to their own terms, right? He'll be supporting. So that is a different kinds of leadership role. For example, Dhoni would have played a different kind of leadership role, and Ganguly will have a different kind of leadership role, and Azharuddin may have a different kind of leadership role. All of them are successful captains for Indian team over the years. Azharuddin, let it be Ganguly, or it would be Dhoni or Kohli, or in future, whoever that could be. So you find the people will have different styles of their own leadership, and how they communicate the ideas in achieving the goals and objectives, right? So that comes under directing. And controlling. Sometimes what happens is you have certain standards to be met, and there is some pitfalls. So that is what it is like, measuring or correcting activities, what has to be done, how they can improve their performance in order to achieve the goals and plans of the organization, right? To reduce the deviations so that the organization is on the right track. Okay, so I hope I made it very clear about what is management is all about. Management is the process of achieving the goals of the organization with the help of people and resources. There are different functionalities to management, such as planning, organizing, directing, and controlling. I'm just given a brief only, but there are many aspects to it. Let's focus on to the next topic. I hope I'm clear. Am I audible to you guys? Ma'am, am I audible? Because it looks very pin drop silent. I'm talking in front of PPT. I don't know whether it is people are listening or not. I'm not sure. Anyhow.
Sir, your voice is audible, sir. Your voice is audible. No issue, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
You
PPT
can
is also
proceed, sir.
Yeah, sure, ma'am, sure. So next we move on to the management is an art or a science. Now the question is, usually when you talk about management, it is basically people will think it is a art subject, right? Art. What is art? Which are skill based, right? Which are all which cannot be grouped into scientific terms, which just comes under art, right? Whereas engineering, if you talk about, it involves mathematical calculation. There is set of principles, there is a repeatability and reproducibility. Those concepts will be there in science. Whereas in art, handwriting of one person may not go with the other person. It's not possible, right? That is because it is an innate nature or ability of a person to write. Or if you ask somebody to draw a drawing, it may not be matched. If you ask a person to write a letter, one person's way of writing letter is different than the other person's way of writing, because the perception differs. Okay, so artistic application is different than the scientific application, and then it is also, now we will understand whether it is an art or a science. Let's understand why management is an art. First of all, elements of art in management, for example, as I mentioned to you, it involves creativity, it involves imagination. So these are all which we call it as artistic nature. Okay, elements of art in management. For example, if you want somebody to talk, the way they talk, it depends upon the individual perception and ability to talk. So it's an art, right? It varies from one person to other person, and it cannot be directly matched at all. So which we call it as artistic form. And practical knowledge, you might have get a degree or something like that, but obviously it involves the individual knowledge of the person. So knowledge of the person may not be the same. All people are studying same subject, but the depth of understanding will be different from one person to other person, may not be the same. Third one is personal skill. As I mentioned to you, a person who is attending the POM right now, the class, may understand it in a one way, the other person may understand or perceive it in different way, and how they apply themselves. Skill is like ability to apply oneself to a particular task in hand. So personal skill will vary from one person to other person. A person who plays a game in one way may not be matched with the other person's way of playing the game, right? As I mentioned to you, creativity also comes into play. And art is something which you perfect over a period of time. For example, if your mother asks you to make a dosa with a dosa batter, first time you make a dosa, it will not be a dosa. It will be like a fried piece or something like that. Second time your mother will say, first you have to put the this pan on the stove and keep it in the slim. Then once it gets heated up, just sprinkle some water, let the heat settle down. Then use a spoon of or a batter, and then put it in the center, and then do it, make it round or something like that. Second time you make a dosa, but it look like a uttapam, right? Big, thicker. As you practice and practice, what happens is ultimately you will have the ability or the skill to do it. Similarly, in an engineering context, if somebody you have been given a task of marketing, first day you may not make a good sale. People will reject you. Second day you go, then also get rejected. Third day you will understand why these guys are rejecting me. You tend to understand those perspective. Am I selling the product in a wrong way? Am I providing information which the customer is not interested to listen? So I need to listen more. So that kind of thinking will come to you. So as you practice and practice, it becomes an innate nature for you. It's like a skill, goal oriented. Yes, artistic form will have one particular goal, we work towards it. Similarly, even in terms of perfection through practice, I'm saying a lawyer by studying Bachelor of Law, okay, Master of Law, for example, they become a lawyer by qualification, by degree. But if they don't know how to argue a case and what are the sections or the codes, Indian Penal Code or Indian Civil Code, whatever that is, you have to take in the right context, right kind of law code into play, and also you have to quote number of precedences. Like for example, in this case, the court has given verdict like this. Based on this case, we want the similar kind of things. That is called as argument. Okay, it should be logical, it should be reasonable, it should be well within the framework, well within the codes of Indian Civil Code or Indian Penal Code, whatever it is. So a lawyer becomes more and more effective through perfection. As he practices, he becomes an effective lawyer. A doctor, for that matter, is a science, we say. But a surgeon does not become an expert surgeon like a heart surgeon or a neurosurgeon, just like that. He practices day in, day out, and he becomes an expert. For example, Cherian, who is there in Tupalam Hospital in Nanagar, who has made a maximum number of heart operations in southern part of India. I mean, the reason why he has become an expert is he is quite good at it. How he has become quite good at it? Because keep on doing that again and again, he becomes an expert. Similarly, if you take the case of cricket also, we say it's like a technical point, like you have to use your feet properly and play the shot, and your body weight should move like that. So those kind of things they say technically. But as you go and play more and more, you get adjust to it, and then you play more natural game, and with that fineness you become a great player. So hope you get the point. So management is an art because it is through perfection, through practice. Though there is science involved, it's a art, we say. So this is a management by an art. Now why we call it as a science? Management is a science. Elements of science in managing. Yes, there are many elements are there in managing. What are those? You have a concept. Yes, when you talk about leadership, there is a concept for leadership. If you talk about management, yes, there is a concept for management. There is a planning, there is organizing, there is a leading, there is controlling, there is directing. We have systematic knowledge. Systematic knowledge is called as concept. So just like science, for example, energy, a topic, or heat, which you would have studied in your school days, heat, light, energy, I mean, different kinds of topics. It's all concepts. Similarly, similar concepts do exist in management also. You know, how to ensure what are the different types of organizational structure. We have systematic knowledge. In that way, it is science. Management is a science. Methods and principles, and how to recruit people. That is called HR management, human resource management. How people will play differently. That is called dynamics, which is called as organizational behavior. Absolutely wonderful topic. Organizational behavior is an individual will behave differently, and he will behave differently in a group. It is called group dynamics. For example, even in your batch, in a project, As an individual, you have different role. As a group, you have different role. And your personality will change once you enter the group. And you're going to see more of the dynamics in the project phase, which is going to come up. The reason why I'm telling is because there are many things will come into play. So just like a concept, a scientific concept, we have a concepts in management also, which is in terms of methods and principles. Then there are theories. Yes, there is a different approach to management theory. For example, we have scientific management, we have administrative management, we have contingency approach to management, we have system approach to management. So there are different ways in which management or the knowledge can be theories. Different theories are there. For example, Maslow's theory of hierarchy, like motivational theory. There are different ways in which people get motivated, as I mentioned to you. There is theory X and theory Y. How people, if you demotivate people, people will be motivated, or you have to encourage people, that is called theory Y. Yes, motivate. Discourage people, that is called theory X. You know, you just say negative things, people will get motivated. So theory X and theory Y. And there is a Maslow's theory of hierarchy. People want basic needs, then they'll go higher and higher. Like for example, first they need salary, then they need luxury like a bike, scooter, something like that. Then they need recognition, the promotion, then they need who they are, and they want different people will get motivated differently. Okay, so those theories also there. So when you talk about management as a science, we have theories also. Then it is organized knowledge. As I mentioned to you, science comes with organized knowledge. Yes, even management is also organized knowledge. It's a practice. Science is a practice where you can practice and prove. Similarly, we can use the concept of management, practice and prove. Like if you have group dynamics, group behavior, or you talk about controlling, budgetary control. You allocate resources, you ask them to manage those resources properly, then it is called as budgetary control. Like you focus only on financial term. There is other terms called as non-budgetary controls. You can use those tools to control the organization also. So we can apply those principles in practice in management also. So we have seen both arguments, management art as well as a science. Now what is the differentiation? What is the uniqueness? As I mentioned to you, yes, management comes with practical knowledge and science comes with concept. Personal skills are there, which is here the methods and principles are there. Here the creativity, there the theory is also there. Perfection through practice, it is organized knowledge, it is goal oriented, and there is practice. So either way it is getting the balance. So management is both art as well as a science. Okay. So as I mentioned to you, which is very clear, so you need to know the concepts, you need to know the theory, and you know how to apply in practice. Just because you get your MBA from IIM or you get a MBA from, one second. So, sorry for the inconvenience. Science, just hold on. Okay. So science teaches us to know, while art teaches us to do. So science is all about knowing how, and art is teaching us to how to do, why, how. So those kind of things. Managing in practice is an art, but body of knowledge, method, principles are science. It is like managing the practice, and body of knowledge, method, principle comes under science. So we understand management is both art as well as science. And let us focus on the next concept, which is called as manager versus entrepreneur. Now I just want to ask a question here. Can anyone say here, can you please tell me what is the difference between manager and administrator? Which is powerful? Please give your answer. Management versus administration. Which is higher? Which is powerful? What is the difference? Guys, are you listening? It looks very completely blank, as if I'm talking to a wall. Okay, good. Rupika is answering yes, sir. Can anyone tell me the difference between management and administration, or what is the difference? Is there any difference between management and administration, or which is lower or which is higher? Anyone, please? No answer? Okay, let me answer it since no one has answered it. I think the number of students has come down to 86. What is happening? I think we have 108, now it has come to 86. 90 we started with. Now it has come down to very, very pathetic. It is around 85. Don't know what is happening. Anyhow, let me continue the session. As mentioned to you, manager basically does not involve in terms of management does not involve in terms of policy or decision making. So management is at lower level, whereas all the decision and policies are done at the higher level, which is called as administration. So administration is at a higher role compared to management. They are the decision maker, the managers are the executors. Administrators are almost like owners of the organization, whereas managers are the employees of the organization. So they work for salary. Here they do the work for the organization's sake. Okay, so they will not be in terms of direct benefits. The benefits would be in terms of profit margin or something like that. Managers will work for salary, and they have limited powers in terms of decision making, policy making, or those kind of things are concerned. So managers are at lower level and administrators are at the higher level. Okay. Now let us focus on to the present slide which we are having. So manager, now the question is manager versus entrepreneur. As we know already the term manager, managing time. So manager means a person who gets things done through his subordinates with the aim of accomplishing business objective efficiently and effectively. There is two different words, efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is doing effectiveness is doing the right things, and efficiency is doing the things right. Okay, there are two differentiation. You may do things faster, but if the thing what you are doing is wrong, you might be efficient, but the results won't be there. Effectiveness is you are doing the right things which is going to create greater impact. So there is two different words, efficiency and effectiveness. Efficiency is how fast you are doing or how impactful your work is. That is called effectiveness. Okay. Now coming to the manager entrepreneur part. Manager is a person who uses human resource and material resources in order to accomplish the goals of the organization with the help of subordinates. Whereas an entrepreneur is a person who takes risk, like he uses his ideas, skills, his courage, and convert that idea into reality. Okay, so whereas manager, so which means that he has got a much bigger options. Entrepreneur, in terms of decision making and policies are concerned, it lies with him. How much hour he wants to work, how much efforts he wants to put in, what the idea can be, how we want to convert that idea into business, into profit. It involves with the person itself. That is called entrepreneur. Whereas manager, he works for limited time. He works within the policy or decision which has been given to him. He executes the task which is being allocated to him, where the responsibility is much lesser. So as we can see that the main difference between entrepreneur and manager lies in the standing. While entrepreneur is the owner of the organization and he is the one who bears all the risks and uncertainties in the business, manager is the employee of the company. Just hold on. Just hold on. So now, just hold on. Just give me a second. So the difference between an entrepreneur and a manager is entrepreneur take all the risk and he is the owner of the organization, whereas a manager is an employee of the organization and he does not take any risk. He works for salary, whereas entrepreneurs works for profits, right? Manager works for salary, entrepreneurs work for the profits. So you can see the difference. Entrepreneur refers to a person who creates an enterprise by taking financial risk in order to get the profit. As I mentioned to you, manager is an individual who takes the responsibility of controlling and administrating. Like what are the role it is given to him, he will try to do that. That's it. Focus is on business startup. Focus is on executing the operation which is being given to him. Primary motivation is achievement. Here, manager means power. I am powerful. I am controlling these number of people. Approach to task is it is informal. Entrepreneur will be very informal. If the way he interacts with his subordinates or the people who work for him, it's all informal. For example, Vembu Sridhar, for example, Zoho Corporation or any entrepreneur for that matter. Formal. Manager works in organization. Just like that, he may not have, he cannot break the barrier and talk to the different hierarchy without the consent of the administration, the owners of the organization. Status is the owner, entrepreneur is the owner, whereas manager is just an employee. Rewards is he works for profit. Yeah, entrepreneur works for the profit, whereas manager works for salary. Decision making wise, entrepreneurs are quite intuitive. What feels right to them, what will bring result to them, they will try to implement it. Whereas manager becomes calculative. They focus on internal and external factors and they want to trade a safety zone. That is how calculative. Driving force for entrepreneurs is creativity and innovation. If you look at Uber, Ola, Swiggy, or for all those products, if you see, or Amazon, all these entrepreneurs, what drives them is the creativity and innovation, whereas manager preserving the status quo. So even in Amazon or in Facebook or in Twitter, they have managers. They work for salary, they execute the task which has been assigned to them, they get salary and they work within the limits. Whereas entrepreneur are the one who sets up the organization, their focus is much on the creativity and innovation. Okay, and last one is the risk taker. Entrepreneurs are basically a risk taker, whereas manager wants to avoid risk. They want to avoid risk for the organization so that the organization goes smoothly. Okay, so this is the difference between entrepreneur and manager. Now we are very clear with many things. For example, what is management? What are the key functions of management we have discussed? We also discussed the difference between manager and administrator. We also discussed between the difference between an entrepreneur and a manager. Okay, now we will look at the types of managers and their roles and skills. What is a role and skill it is required? See, no matter which organization you're going to work, it is your temperament that speaks volume. For example, some of you got the placement in TCS, Infosys, CTS, and other companies also. What the company will be looking at you is, they look at your temperament. For example, how you change your game when you go to those level, how you improve your temperament when opportunity is given to you, and more the temperament you show, higher your goals and level you will be going into. So there are different types of managerial roles and skills. And now, for example, in this, I hope some of you are watching test match. I closely watch the test match also. In Brisbane, the GABA test, the fourth and final test. I think 3 players. Three players. I think Washington Sundar. Sorry for the inconvenience. Three players. Washington Sundar, or it would be Shahadur Thakur, Thakur for that matter, and of course Natarajan. They are poured. When opportunity is given to them, how they respond to it, that shows the temperament, right? So similarly, there are different levels of manager, and they play different role, and that each level will require different kinds of skills. Let us focus on to it. So as I mentioned to you, manager basically someone who coordinates and oversees the work of other people to achieve the organizational goals, right? Their objective is to ensure they are just a coordinators between the organization and the subordinates. There is the the administration. There is a manager. There is a subordinate. Okay, and they are the one. The top layer is called as the one who makes a decision or who frames a policy or who are the owners of the organization. Managers are below. They are the workers of the organization. Their role is to ensure they coordinate between the administration and the subordinates, and they achieve the goals of the organization. That's what they are going to do. So managers are the one who coordinates and oversee the work of the subordinates to achieve the goals of the organization. That is a manager, which we know. Now, what are types of manager? We have different category. First is non-managerial employees. For example, in our college, if you ask, the lab assistant or the non-technical people who are there comes under non-managerial employees. Then the first line managers. First line managers are basically HODs, and then all the HODs and the professors will come under first line managers. And non-managerial employees also includes faculty members also. Middle level managers are the one who are like in our college, if you ask in our college setup, principal, dean academic, dean research. So those people are advisor. So they are the one who play the middle level management. And top level management are the one who are the owners of the organization. It's our management, our chairman, vice chairman, director, all these people will come under that category. So we have different levels of manager, from first line, middle level, or you can say lower level management, middle level management, and top level management. So there are three categories, and sometimes they say four category also. If you see any organization, for example, a functional organization structure, this is called organization structure. If you look at TVS for that matter, TVS, Lucas TVS is there, Wheels India is there, and then Brakes India is there. They have different sectors, and each of these organizations will have different people. For example, Tata Motors is there, Tata TCS is there, and Tata Infrastructure is there, Tata Steel is there, so Tata Communication is there. So they are into different automobile sector, realty sector, infrastructure sector, and they are into multiple segments, right? So similarly, Godrej is into multiple segments, consumer goods also. So each of these organizations will have a general manager under which they have multiple categories: finance, R&D, operation, production, or say production or service, product marketing, human resource. So I think under which there will be number of people will be there, line of people will be there. So this is called as a functional organization structure. There are different varieties of where the structure could be modified, which we will discuss in the unit 2. So this is called functional organization structure. Top managers are the one who sets the policies. As I mentioned to you, top level manager are the one who forms the policies or decisions for the organization. Okay, so they establish the plans, goals, and whatever they say, it will impact the entire organization. They are the trend setter, and they will have few in numbers. As you can see, top management only few in numbers. Okay, in our college there is only 5 to 10 people will be at the top level management. Okay, that is called board of directors. Board of directors will be small in number. For example, if you look at the parliament wise, executive vice president, so those kind of things will be there. Middle level management, below which we have middle level managers. They are the link, they are the coordination link between the top level and the lower level management. They are called as they control the first line of managers, the lower level management, lower level or the supervisor or whatever they call it as. Okay, and they will be somewhat more in numbers compared to the top level, and so we have seen the first line managers are the shift managers. For example, in our case, as I mentioned to you, HODs will form the first line management in our education institutions. HODs, head of the departments. Below HODs, there will be 20 faculties or 15 faculties or 12 faculty members will be there. And their role is to take care of those 20 people, and they all work together to achieve the organizational goal from the department, EEE, EC, CSE, IT. So those are the departments. So these are all called as first line managers, and these first line managers will be reporting to the middle level managers, and this middle level managers will be reporting to the top level management. Okay. So managerial roles and skills, what is the skills it is required? As we clearly see, different layers will have different skill. There is a lower level management, middle level management, top level management. Just like we play a different role. A person will play a role of father, husband, neighbor, worker, brother, uncle, volunteer, friend, son, student. You get the point? The point is, a single person will play a different role. Similarly, mother, wife, worker, sister, aunt, volunteer, friend, daughter, like you know, these kind of roles. They'll student, so they become citizen of the country also. So they play different roles. Manager play different roles, right? So they play different roles. So there are three main categories in which the manager roles are classified into. First one is interpersonal role, then the informational role, then third one is called as decision making roles. Interpersonal are the interpersonal between people, interpersonal, one person to other person. It is called interpersonal. So they play a role of figurehead. For example, representing the organization, they become the leader. For example, Prime Minister Modi. Okay, liaising, like coordinating the organization with the external organization. So the communication, they play more of the role of a communication. Okay, or exchange of information on a technical basis, right? Liaising is all about getting the contract for the organization, working with the government to get the contract, or working with the other organization to back the contract. So it involves many negotiation techniques, right? How you interact with those organizations, that is called interpersonal, one person to other person. So interpersonal role, it is three roles are there: figurehead, leader, and liaising. Then the informational role, we can think of three things. Spokesperson, like as official spokesperson of the organization, official spokesperson for the team. Okay, team spokesperson, official spokesperson for the party, political party, spokesperson of BJP, spokesperson of Congress, spokesperson of ADMK, spokesperson of DMK. So they have, right? Similarly, spokesperson for Rajinikanth, spokesperson for Kamal Haasan, we have, right? Kamal Haasan wants to communicate some information, it will be done through his media people, right? Disseminator, as if there is some problem is there, they want to clear the doubts or provide some more clarity, and they want to provide more information. For example, Farm Bill, there have been a lot of agitation going around the country, especially in Punjab and Haryana. If government wants to play, the person who is in charge of that farm part of it will speak to people and provide the information that no, it's not like that. We are not reduce the minimum support price. The farmers are very well can give that to the existing setup, or they can go for selling their product for a higher value outside or to anyone. So that is monitoring. It is also very important. You constantly monitor the organization for information, then only you become an effective manager. You have to collect the information as much as possible from the organization to the stakeholders, from the internal stakeholders and external stakeholders, so that you keep on updating yourself, so that you become a strong manager. Please believe me, you understand these concepts which you can apply in your organization where you're going to work. Okay, You are going to play all these roles. Okay, so first is interpersonal role, second one is informational role, third one is decision making roles. Sometimes you have to make a decision as a manager. For example, entrepreneur, you have to take risk. What is the one word associated with entrepreneur? Taking risk, taking responsibility, working beyond time. That is called entrepreneur. You work within the time or work for particular hours, you become a manager. You work beyond your working hours, you become an entrepreneur. So managers sometimes put a hat of entrepreneur role also. Disturbance handler, there could be some untoward situation which would come into the organization. How we are going to handle? For example, Maruti Suzuki, they had a problem in their plant. They had, I think they had agitation, some problem was there. And how you handle, those kind of difficult situation, like disturbance handler, resource allocator, because you play a decision role and you want to ensure that you get a right resources or use the right resources in terms of finance or in terms of people resources, because organization says this is what you have to work with. So at that time, you cannot ask for more resources. Within the resources, how you are going to manage your group of team or your team in order to bring the results to the organization. For example, Indian team is completely deployed of everything. Now the decision making role is how we are going to play or win or to draw the test within the resources which is available. So now the next role is negotiator. Just give me a second. Just hold on. Just give me a second. So now sometimes you have to play a role of negotiator also. So these are the various roles a manager will play, and it's not hierarchical or sequential. You have to play different role at different points of time. Okay, so the three key category of roles a manager would play is interpersonal role, informational role, and decision making roles. So as I mentioned to you, interpersonal role involves interacting with the subordinates as well as inside as well as outside people. Like you are the symbolic representation for the organization, a ceremonial or symbolic, receiving the award on behalf of the health department of a state government. Health minister will go and collect the award, right? As Indian government, prime minister will be invited to receive it, right? Figurehead, leader, liaison. Next, information role, as I mentioned to you, it is all about collecting and receiving and disseminating the information. You play a role of monitor, disseminator, and spokesperson. Decision making role, you play a different role as an entrepreneur in terms of risk taking, in terms of working beyond your comfort zone, and as a disturbance handler, you understand the situation and act accordingly so that you make a right decision. And resource allocator, based on the resources available, how you are going to make use of those resources in those difficult situations. Negotiator, how you are going to handle a certain situation to your advantage, right? Now we have different things we are talking about. There are first level, middle level, and top level manager. Top level manager, I told you, it's more on to planning and organizing and leading. Those are the concepts which will be working on them. So we have first level manager basically has to play a role of leader, because as you can see, 51% it's all about leading, and again next percentage would be on organizing. So they have limited planning and controlling, because these decisions will come from the middle level manager. Middle level manager, their role is to ensure they pass on the right people at the right place, which means their role in terms of organizing will be increasing, and they will be playing a lesser leadership role compared to, it's a balance between organizing and leading in the middle level. When you go to the top level, their role is to ensure they plan a lot. As you can see, the planning has increased to 28%, whereas the leadership role has come down, because the leadership baton is given to the second level, that is middle level, and the leadership role strongly needs to be done at the ground level, first level manager. That's like a captain. Captain is in charge of the team. The coach is at the middle level. The board of directors or BCCI is at the top level. how you coordinate. The person, the coach role, Ravi Shastri role is to organize and to lead and give the team right amount of team, right kind of motivation. The person who executes on the ground is a lead by example is Ajinkya Rahane, leading by example, that is, and he is also focused on organizing. Whereas the top management will focus on getting the right players, BCCA for that matter, will bring the right players, planning and organizing. They also give a vision to the middle level management. Okay, managerial skills, which you know, there are 3 types of skills: technical skills, human skills, and conceptual skills. Different level will require different knowledge. Technical skill is when you want to join an organization, for example, software company for that matter, they ask you to know how much of knowledge you have in terms of learning the Java or any other database thing is concerned. So for example, if you go to a core company, they ask you to know, do you know any design tools or CAD tools, or you know any simulation tool, so that you can be contributor in terms of technical domain is concerned. So you need to have a specific knowledge. That is the entry point. Without technical skill, it is very difficult to get into the organization or to reach a managerial level. You become an expert or a first line manager only if you have specific strong technical knowledge. With the proficiency only you can control the people bottom. Without knowledge, you cannot control the people at the bottom. Okay, so technical skill is very strongly felt with the lower level manager. The first line manager, for example, supervisor in a manufacturing industry or a machine design or a electrical motor manufacturing industry, the first line manager should know between the winding, the diameter of the wire and the insulator type, and how many turns has to be done, and how it has to be prepared. Those technical details you should be stronger. Without that, he cannot go to the middle level, not at all possible. After 15 years, he knows the technical concept and you know how to get the work from the middle level people, that is lower level people. He moves on to the next level called as middle level. Once you are becoming expert 10 to 15 years there, then you can go to the top level manager. Okay, so technical skill is a mandatory skill for the first line manager. Human skill. When you go to second level, there is middle level. As I mentioned to you, it's a coordination between the top level and the lower level management. It's more and more likely a coordination. That's why I said here it requires organizing as well as leading. It's a balance of organizing and leading. Planning is lesser. Planning will come from the top level management. So human skills are very important. How you respond to the reporting authority, how you respond to the your person who are reporting to you, how you are going to report this one task, how you are going to respond to the person who is reporting to you. So it involves strong human skill, good communication skill, which is very, very important in terms of middle level is concerned. There is human skill. Conceptual skill, which is very, very important, the ability to policy making, decision making, those things, conceptually planning, those things has come on the top level, conceptual skill. So there are 3 skills involved: technical skill, human skill, and conceptual skill. As I mentioned to you, first level manager should have strong technical skill. Middle level manager should have balance of technical as well as conceptual skill, but lesser decision making skill. The top level will have strong conceptual skill or policy decision making skill compared to the human skill as well as the technical knowledge is concerned, because they have already crossed the bottom level and that's why they have crossed to the top level. So as I can see that, we can see technical skill is more, this is the supervision. So lower level, you need more technical and human. But when you go to middle level, you require more of human, less of technical. You can see more technical is very, very important in the lower level, supervisory level. But when you go to middle level, human is more, human skills are more, concept skill is somewhat higher compared to the lower level, whereas technical skill is somewhat lesser compared to the supervisory. When you go to the top level, you require more of conceptual skill and more of human skill, but less of technical skill, because you have traveled your journey from supervisor to the top level management. Okay, hope you are getting the point. Now, this is the evolution of management thought. Right now, JJ ma'am, can we continue for another 10 minutes, ma'am? Am I audible? JJ ma'am? Guys, am I audible? Because I don't know. Someone, okay, Veronica is telling audible. Okay, good. Is my PPT is also visible?
Sir, audible only, sir. PPT is also visible.
Okay, okay. Ma'am, ஒரு 10 நிமிஷம் எடுக்கலாம் இல்லையா? ஒன்னும் நாம ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணது
டைம் இருக்கு சார். 3:30 ஆகல.
ஓகே
3:30
ஓகே.
ஆகல.
நம்ம ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணதே 2:15 தான் ஆரம்பிச்சோம். அதுக்கு தான். ஓகே ஓகே. ரைட். Thank you, ma'am. So next we'll move on to the, as I mentioned to you, so far what we have discussed. We discussed who is the manager, we discussed what is management, who is the manager, what is the difference between manager and administrator. Manager are work for salary, administrators are the owners of the organization. Those differences we have seen. We have discussed what is entrepreneur, who is the entrepreneur, who is the manager. We have seen the differences, and we have seen the levels of management and skills required for each of the levels, roles of manager, those things we have seen. Now we come to the evolution of management thought. Evolution of management thought means how the concept of management has come into the existence, how they evolved the theory. As I mentioned to you, management is art as well as science. I told you science is because there is a concept involved, how it has been developed over a period of time. It started 1890, scientific management with F.W. Taylor, who did a scientific study on Ford Motor Company. Okay, F.W. Taylor, we will go and discuss that. Then Henry Fayol, a French researcher, management researcher, he has given a concept of administrative management, how to lead people in organization. This comes under classical theory. And then we had a behavioral management, when people when new subjects like psychology, sociology has come into the world, 1900s and 1910, 30s, when a lot of social movement have come into play. There is more talk on psychology, sociology. So those concepts come into play. Then there comes a behavioral management theory. And when science started to pick it up in terms of more invention of transistor, all scientific developments during the 1930s to 60s and late 80s, because that's where when Hitler was there and Germany was doing all the World War II and all. They are the one, though the war is there, it has brought in so much of technical changes. Whatever we see, the radar or sonar or the invention of or the missile technology, all these things because of this World War II, and they have beaten one step ahead. That is called that is the era of science. So management scientific theory had come into play. Then we talked about recent time, we talk about how environment is playing a role, which is called as systems approach or organizational environmental theory. Okay, these are the various timeline in which these theories have developed and evolved by number of contributors. It's not one person who did the research. It's like we have a machine design, right? Design of transformer. It's not one person has designed the transformer. No, one person did a research on number of tubes. One person did a research on in calculating the temperature. One person worked on the size of the lamination. One person would have did research on type of conductor. One person would have done a research on diameter of the conductor. So they all come together, many researchers come together, as created a concept where it comes under machine design, say. So similarly, number of people have involved in developing these theories, and it has come as an evolution of management thought, from scientific management theory to the latest system approach to management. Okay, so we'll go to the scientific management. Scientific management, F.W. Taylor is born to a wealthy family in the US, 1856 to 1915. He graduated from Stevens Institute of Technology as a mechanical engineer. He worked in a Ford Motor Company, and he did a lot of study, scientific study, how to improve. Before that, there were nothing like what you call inline manufacturing. People will come to the factory and all people will do all work. Earlier to this scientific management, he only perfected. Ford appointed him to come with the concept. So what they did is the line, whatever we say, assembly line technique. Right now, if you go to any car manufacturing or any manufacturing sector, you will find there is a process involved. There is a chassis. They'll fix the door. They'll fix engine. They test. They go to the next section, next section, next section. Finally, the car is ready. It is painted. Then it is did all this. I mean, they do all the finishing and everything. The product is coming out. So that is called a scientific management. So he is the one person who involved in economic efficiency as well as improving the labor productivity. Okay, earlier there was something like that. People go to the factory, everybody will do all work, and it is not bringing in the efficient work or improving the efficiency of labor. So he is the father of scientific management. So he did number of study. It is called as motion study. If, for example, if you want to write, see, you have a tool like this. You have a tool. You want to fix a screw like this. It's like the tools are there in some other place. You go there and then take this and do like this. It will take more time. What F.W. Taylor did was, he will give two tools there. Your duty is to put your take, do like this. Take that, do and give. Take that, do like this. So there will be tools where your body movement will be lesser. Your movement will be lesser. And you become more productive. That is called motion study. Movement of people, so that reducing the movement of, assume a place where you have to go 200 meters to fetch a screwdriver and then do the work, it will be a pathetic. The number of work completed per day would be lesser. That's why we are finding the latest assembly line technique, which has been 100 years old, when F.W. Taylor has given that. Time study. They'll give one work, assembly work. They say this is the time, 5 minutes. They have to complete 15 or 100 pieces per day, also 100 pieces per 1 hour. So they have to do like this. They have to, we take their mouse, they do like this, they fix like this, they do, and they do the pasting and they'll keep like this. So I think we jumped it. Okay. So that is called as time study. So how much time each task takes is called time study. Then it's called as fatigue study. Fatigue is, he studied that people will get tired. They need a periodical break. So what he did was, he asked them to work for some time and given the break. It's like you have a tea break, right? If 2 hours are continuously happening in the classroom, you feel tired. You want to break the monotony. So you go for a tea break, go to restroom, talk to your friend, talk to the other class guys, go to library, wander, and then come back. It's called fatigue study. And then functional foremanship, it's all about putting a person who is in charge of one particular area, and he will be given the responsibility of managing this many number of people. And standardization, simplification of work. They have standardized the tools. This is a common tool which will be given to all team. This is a common screwdriver which will be given to everybody. That is called as standardization and simplification of work. Then method study. So what is the best method? See, sometimes it is very difficult to do this. It's like doing the wrong way. You put you'll put this. No. They'll say the method study is, take this, put this one first, then you fix this like this, you fix like this, then you put this, and then put a sticker and then keep it aside. That is called method study. And then differential piece rate system. Yes. See, there should be a common criteria. It's not like one person doing work, other person getting the more money. It should not be happening. So what they did was, he is the one who has invented or given a concept of differential piece rate system. You make 100 pieces, you get a basic salary. You make more number of pieces, you get more money. That is called differential piece rate system, to motivate people to do more tasks or more work from them. What are the advantages and disadvantages? There will be enhanced teamwork and cooperation, better planning and decision making in scientific management, improved economic and work efficiency. People have contributed, the economy has grown, and efficiency has also increased opportunities for worker, reduced waste will be reduced because they know how to do the task repeatedly, they reduce the waste. Disadvantages, there will be pressure on the worker, and as well as because there will be constant monitoring, And sometimes when you keep on doing same thing or forced to do, you will be demotivated. Sometimes what happens is when you expect the people to do work, and that brings the managerial decisions to, to be very disciplined, and it will create some kind of differences like that. Okay. So principles of scientific management, which I told you, how it has to be done. So scientifically, before F.W. Taylor, there is nothing like scientific approach. F.W. Taylor is the one who has given this concept. He had given a concept of, right now you said, no, you have been given a training for 6 months, 3 years in terms of all the coding practice, all the aptitude question solving, logical reasoning. Without that, how you will be able to crack the CTS, TCS and Infosys? Not at all possible, right? So he is the one who has brought in the concept of selection, scientific selection, training and development of employees, so that they become very competitive, they become very skilled in doing what they are doing. So all companies will recruit, they select, they train, they ask the people to improve their work. That's what they do. And cooperate with the workers to ensure developed methods are followed. So they bring in a lot of new training and development, they bring new changes so that people are updated, upgraded. And one more concept is divide work equally between managers, so that managers apply scientific management, planning and other techniques. So these are the various aspects of it. This is a time study which I told you. So Taylor's philosophy is, he implemented work analysis, personality test to select the candidates, recruitment interviews have been conducted. This is a very, very great concept. You can say this in 2020. He given this concept in 1900s, 1907. He has written this research article. So it's almost like 113 years ago. He has given this concept, in mind-boggling. So he has given this concept of how to work, how to analyze the work, how to differentiate the work. He has given the concept of job requirements, how to select the job requirements, how to recruit, how to interview people, and how to eliminate the wrong candidates and select the right candidates. Okay, so this is systems approach. Systems, as I mentioned to you, the earlier one is scientific approach, the second one is system approach. Here, the entire management is considered as a environment where there is the input, there is the resources, output is a product or service, organization is a transformation process where things is going to change. There is an environment in which the transformation is happening. The resources are converted into product and services. Just like our college, we have students and we got engineering graduates outside, and you are undergoing a process, and there is an environment which is inside, there is an environment outside. What kind of transformation is happening inside will give the results outside. This is called systems approach. Okay, and then as you can see, input is raw material, human resources, capital, technology, information. These are all inputs. Outputs are product, services, financial results, information, and human resources. These are the various things. And what is happening inside the system is, employee will do the work, employee work activities, the effectiveness of management, technology and operation methods. What kind of process they improve, what kind of environment is there, will be visible in the outputs. So we have internal environment, there is external environment, there is a system, there is an internal system, there is external system. Inputs is coming, raw material is coming, human resources are coming, capital is coming, technology is coming, information is coming. It is going as a product, service, financial resource, information, human results, and something is happening inside, that is called system. And there are two types of system: open loop system and closed loop system. Open loop system, where we don't take the feedback from the output system to improve the process. There it is called open loop system. A system in which the various factors, the quality of the product, quality of the service, what kind of financial results the company is showing, what kind of market share the company is having, how people perceive the product and service, all this information goes in improving the system, in reducing the losses, reducing the raw material, reducing the capital, reducing the other wastages within the system, improving the overall performance of the system, is called as closed loop system. Okay, open loop and closed system. This is a very famous McKinsey 7S model. There are 7 important elements which is part of this model: strategy, and then you have structure, system. So these are the various factors. Then the other three are the skill, staff, style, and there is a shared value. So it all interconnected phenomena is the McKinsey 7S model, wonderful model, and many of the companies will be following, are following this kind of model. Okay, so it goes through the various aspects. There is the internal environment where inputs are given. It is going through the process of planning, organizing, staffing, leading, controlling outputs as a product, service, customer satisfaction, or other long-term goals, whatever it is, within the system, which is within the environment, internal environment. External environment are government, politics, market, customer, clients, all are external environment. How they interact with this environment is called as the effectiveness of technique. Contingency approaches, for example, suddenly something is happening, what to do? So what is the best solution? Wickets are going, how a batsman has to understand the situation. For example, in this test match, Washington Sundar applied himself what a top batsman couldn't do. He applied himself and played and waited, got all the hittings from the bowler. I think Mitchell Stark has bowled Mitchell Stark and as well as Cummins bowled with their heart out during the first innings. If you would have watched, it indicates that they were very ferocious, but still the batsman was cool and knowing the situation, what is best for the team, what best for myself, in order to improve my show my temperament. That's what they did, which is called contingency approach. There is no set pattern, there is no set guideline. Based on the situation that is arising, you approach the situation. That is called contingency approach to management. So it is internal contingency within the organization, internal contingency, external contingency. There could be suddenly COVID has come, which is external contingency. Internal contingency is suddenly there is a loss of investor, which is called internal contingency. So you take the situation accordingly and act accordingly. Internal contingency and external contingency. Internal contingency involves technology, people, purpose, structure, task, and external contingency are external factors which is not in your hand. Socio-cultural factors. For example, there is a protest will come in saying that Kudangalam is a waste, or gas project should be banned. Somebody will come and that these farm laws are not good. So those kind of things. No, this is no need for a 6-way loan to Chennai to Salem. Economic factors, technology factors. Suddenly things will change. Government need to adapt. Legal and political factors. International Monetary Fund will say, or government brings a new taxation system, GST, something like that. So these are all external factors which will come to the organization, and there is no set approach to in achieving the targets or goals. You approach the situation according to the need, according to the situation, based on the internal and external contingency factors. So we'll stop here. Any doubts, guys? I think we have concluded the session. If you ask questions, I'm ready to take the questions. Any questions? Can I ask questions to you guys? Can I ask question? What is management? What is the difference between manager and administrator? Any difference? Manager and administrator? No answer? You can put it in the chat box. What is the difference between manager and administrator? No answer. Ma'am? JJ ma'am is not there.
சார் மானிட்டருங்கிறது ஸ்டூடெண்ட் பாருங்க 108 பேர்ல 70 பேர் தான் இருக்கான். அவன் இஷ்டத்துக்கும் வரான், இஷ்டத்துக்கும் போறான்.
என்ன பண்றது?
Now totally 70 students only, sir.
நான் ரெக்கார்டிங் ஸ்டாப்